With the Los Angeles Times, I'm Lindsey Thiry, joined by beat reporter Gary Klein. We're on Cromwell Field, day one of USC spring practice. Kind of a chilly one, Gary, but hey, weather doesn't matter here in LA, so let's get to football. 15 of these. What do you think the storyline's going to be throughout the spring?
Well, Lindsey, USC comes into spring practice with lots of high expectations from outside Los Angeles. A couple national media outlets have said they're going to be in contention for the college football playoff. That may well happen, but I think it's a little early given what USC lost with Leonard Williams and Nelson Aguilar, Javorius Allen. But for a first practice, they came out like they always do with lots of energy. It is interesting to see Cody Kessler, who was here years ago as an early enrollee freshman quarterback. He's now the established guy. He will be in the discussion for the Heisman Trophy before the season begins. And so that's just one of the stories. Trey Madden back out, running around, won't be in contact drills, but looked pretty strong. Several new players here as early enrollees. So those are just some of the storylines we'll be following.
All right, Gary's usually on the fence, but today he's saying pump the brakes on some of these preseason expectations. You mentioned early enrollees. 5 of them were here today. A player who was not here, though, was tight end Bryce Dixon.
That's right. Bryce Dixon, a sophomore, was held out of a game last year.
Yes.
For what Steve Sarkisian called a student conduct issue. Came back and he played against UCLA, played the rest of the season. He was not here today. Once again, Sarkisian invoked that it was a student conduct issue, would not go beyond that, citing privacy issues. So that's obviously a storyline we'll be following through the spring because his absence really leaves them shorthanded. They were already shorthanded. Jalen Cope Fitzpatrick, who was academically ineligible last season, is out here in the spring, but his status for the fall, I think, is still, up in the air until the semester's over. So they are really shorthanded at tight end.
They did pick up, though, 5 mid-year players, 2 offensive linemen, a receiver, a linebacker, and a quarterback. How do you think those guys fit in? And typically, in your experience, what have you seen from mid-year players and how they squeak into the spring?
Well, they looked, trying to, look, how is Ricky Town, the quarterback, does he know which directions he's going? And there were a couple instances where it looked like he was a little confused, but there were several times when he looked very good. When he was in there, he did a really nice job. Isaac Whitney, the receiver, looked good on some plays, struggled on some of the others. I'm sure the linemen, on some level, their head is spinning because this is a faster pace.
On every level, maybe?
Yeah. And Cameron Smith, the linebacker, looked like he was getting a lot of action. So for a first day, none of them looked like they were completely lost. At times, they all looked impressive. So I'm guessing they're just happy this one's over and they can push forward, and now they know the routine.
Now, I know you mentioned preseason expectations. I have to mention preseason media, spring media. This place was packed. Do you think that USC, with the #1 recruiting class, is kind of on its way back?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Question.
I think coming off a 9-4 season, with Kessler back as a 5th-year senior quarterback, as a guy who had a record-setting season statistically last year, there's reason to be optimistic. They have a lot of great players coming in. We'll see how they pan out, and they have a lot of talented returning players. But we are 6 months away from the season opener, and no championships, Pac-12 or national, are won at this time. So I think they're just hoping to get through spring without injury to some of their key players and integrate some of those new guys.
Clearly, Gary didn't get the memo that to a lot of folks these days, a recruiting class that's ranked #1 by some outlets is an off-season national championship. All right, we'll be here throughout this spring. Be sure to keep it on the Times for all the latest on USC. With Gary Klein, I'm Lindsey Thiry.